On the news, President Buhari meets service chiefs. EFCC arrests former Abia State Governor Theodore Orji. And at least 2 killed as Afghanistan marks Independence Day. Glad to have you join us on News Now on TV360 Nigeria. I am Mary Kanu. President Muhammadu Buhari says he is determined to bring about a turnaround to the security situation in the country, maintaining that he will not leave Nigeria as a failure. The National Security Advisor, Babagana Mongono, conveyed the president's message to State House correspondents at the end of a closed-door meeting with service chiefs at the presidential villa on Thursday. Mongono noted that the meeting was to brief President Buhari on the current security situation in the country.
It is evident that a lot of successes have been recorded. Large numbers of people are surrendering in the northeast as a consequence of the relentless efforts of the armed forces, intelligence and security agencies. This is very, very evident. We've never had such large numbers of people defecting from the other side back to the Nigerian side. So the president was briefed. The president is quite happy that there's been tremendous success, especially with the advent of the new service chiefs and the Inspector General of Police. And he's also made it very, very clear that he's not ready to exit government as a failure. He's not going to tolerate that. He's made changes and is ready to make further changes if he's not satisfied. He's completely determined to ensure that there's a turnaround in the fortunes in the theater of operations.
And joining us on the news to speak more on the president's meeting with the service chiefs is former director of the Department of State Services, Dennis Amakri. Thank you for joining us on the news. Now, the last meeting the president had with the service chiefs was on June 8. Now, from then until now, what is your appraisal of the security situation? Have we made any significant progress?
I think they've made a very significant progress. You can hear the NSA saying that they have been able to force some of these insurgents to surrender. And of course, we've never had such a large number of people surrendering. So in fact, it's predictable that this particular meeting was to brief the president and tell them what they've done very good on the scorecard. Because you remember very well, when before they came in, the whole country was asking the president to let the old service chiefs to leave. And finally he listened and changed them. And these present service chiefs are proving it to him that yes, it was a very good decision. And I think they are fitting the bill.
Well, as the NSA Mongono has said, a lot more still needs to be done. And again, the president has made pledges. What changes are you hoping to see as an offshoot of this meeting?
Well, I expect that the president is going to give them more support now that they are bringing results, more support, and then of course always strategize with them and give them all that is needed. Like he said, he might change if he's not satisfied. He might still go ahead and still change some of them. But I think so far, so good. They are doing a good job. And I hope they will stay with that.
Well, Dennis Amakri, former director of the Department of State Services, thank you very much for your time. And meanwhile, the Chief of Defense Staff, General Lucky Irabo, has again pledged the commitment of the country's armed forces in tackling the security challenges the country is currently facing. At an interactive session with retired senior military officers in the North Central held in Makurdi, Benue State, General Irabo maintained that the military as an institution remains at the forefront of leading the war against every form of criminality in Nigeria. Our correspondent Abisola Adebayo has that story.
This is a continuation of the Chief of Defense Staff General Lucky Irabo's engagements with military veterans across the geopolitical zones of the country as part of efforts to find lasting solutions to insecurity. Retired senior military officers in the North Central have gathered here to also make their own contributions to national security and deliberate on the way forward.
The retired senior military officers can think logically and strategically in identifying security challenges in their immediate environment. They are also in a position to appreciate efforts so far in place at solving them, as well as profile further way forward and solutions. This interaction will bring some salient issues to the attention of the Chief of Defense Staff and also prefer ways forward.
General Irabo called for open-mindedness from the ex-military personnel, assuring that their recommendations will be treated with due regard.
Whatever suggestions that you have, please lay bare. Let us know what we have not done well. Let us also know what we have done well, what we need to maintain. Let us also know what you think that we may not have thought of. Even the things that by your assessment is beyond us, we'll be glad, I'll be glad, and of course every of my colleagues that are here will be glad to hear from you, and I promise you that there will be interventions subsequently.
The Chief of Defense Staff also appealed for more cooperation with security agencies from all Nigerians.
The issue of peace and security is everybody's responsibility. And so that every one of us have one form of contribution or the other to make. And we also believe that as members of the armed forces and security agencies, that even though we lead in creating the conditions for peace and security to reign in the country, we also have listening ears. That those who have contributions to make, they have the opportunity to make such contributions.
The Chief of Defense Staff says the ongoing military engagement with veterans nationwide is crucial towards sustainable peace and progress. Abisola Adebayo, TV360 News.
International oil companies operating in Nigeria are owing the Niger Delta Development Commission (NDDC) more than $4 billion. The Minister of Niger Delta Affairs, Godswill AKPABIO, disclosed this at a weekly ministerial briefing organized by the Presidential Communication Team at the Presidential Villa, Abuja on Thursday. AKPABIO said all firms operating in the area are expected to provide 3% of their annual budget to the Commission, but so far none of them have complied with this. The Minister said the Commission on its part is owing contractors about 3 trillion naira. He, however, noted that not all contracts awarded with cost can be regarded as debts. Well, joining us on the news to discuss more on this is public affairs analyst and lawyer Evans Ofeili. Thank you for joining us on the news. Now, international oil companies have been in the news paying compensations and being called out for impunity in host communities. Now, let's talk about this 3% supposed to be remitted to the NDDC. Of what importance is it that the money is paid to the Commission?
It is important because it is part of the regulations in the NDDC Act. Part of the embodiment of that act is that the companies, the international companies, oil companies, must, as a matter of necessity, draw up 3% of their budget annually to the NDDC. So it's a provision of law, okay? And the oil companies are in default of that, meaning that they have not been in compliance with that provision of the Act. And that in itself amounts to infraction. So I think it is necessary the Minister for Niger Delta Affairs, Godswill AKPABIO, is raising this issue now, especially when we are at the verge of the new signed PIA, as the Petroleum Industry Act, that have also made a provision that the international companies must also give out 3% to host communities under the host community trust.
Well, now these are the same oil companies we're asking to pay host communities 3%. The NDDC has also now said they are owing $4 billion. So does this not mean debts will continue to pile up? Will the IOCs be able to meet these obligations?
Well, the IOCs can enter into negotiation as to how they intend to pay the funds. They are making a lot of money from Nigeria, and as a matter of necessity and law, they must give back to society. If the law has made such provisions, wherever these oil companies are, even from the countries where they reside, there is petroleum profit tax. Okay, there is tax on petroleum and the management, exploration, and mining of petroleum all over the world. So it is not out of place. What they can do if they don't have the entire funds to offset the money being owed, what they can do is to enter into a negotiation and then pay instrumentally, and then they're able to clear it off. It's a matter of law, and it's important that they abide by the provisions of law. We don't know how much they have. We don't know how much they have in their coffers. But what we know is that they are supposed to draw 3% of their budget annually and remit to NDDC. And by the new act, they are supposed to also give 3% to the host communities. That is what we know. So let's allow them to say they do not have the money or they have excess money. Or I think the ball is in their court to decide how they are going to have these funds offset, because the matter of law and compliance is critical.
Well, public affairs analyst and lawyer Evans Ofeli, thank you for joining us on the news. Moving on now, over 300 Nigerians are reportedly languishing in various prisons in Italy for crimes they did not commit. A former commissioner for arts, culture and diaspora in Edo State, Osaze Osemwege Ero, disclosed this when he visited the chairman of the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, Abike Dabiri Erewa, in Abuja. Ero said he had also been a victim after he was arrested in Amsterdam and jailed in Italy on trumped-up charges of being a Nigerian mafia kingpin, but was freed and released after 18 months.
I have a list of over 300 Nigerians in prison, yes, in these mafia-related offenses. Some of them have been there for 4 years. The first arrest was in 2016. The prosecutor is very corrupt. He knows what he's doing. When they put you in prison for 6 months, you will be compelled to agree for short trial so that you can take short sentence and go home. And that is exactly what he's been doing with them. When we did my pre-trial in July 10th, before then we asked for house arrest. He refused. And July 10th was when we had the pre-trial. I was still thinking, since I did not commit the crime, there is no evidence against me. At the pre-trial, I will be free. The judge came and the prosecutor said I should do the short trial and get a house arrest. But I said, no, then if you give me a short house arrest, you've already convicted me. I don't belong to any mafia organization, and those crimes they said were not even proven in the case file that was not presented. I'm not saying the 300 Nigerians are all innocent of various crimes. Some of them sell marijuana, some of them do credit card fraud, but they should be charged or prosecuted for the crime they committed. So that is what we should look at, not putting the mafia criminal code on them.
In response, the chairman of NIDCOM promised to convey the matter to relevant authorities, stressing that no Nigerian anywhere in the world should be made to suffer for crimes they did not commit.
With the formal letter we've received from you, we're going to take it up with the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation. There are many cases that the Attorney General of the Federation, Mr. Malami, has handled that has to do with Nigerians in the diaspora being maltreated. And I believe that this is one that we'll take to the Attorney General, and I'm sure he will look into it, because you're out of prison, quite all right, for what you said you didn't commit, and what you said there was no evidence. But there are so many. I mean, 300 is outrageous. And indeed, if there are so many Nigerians in Italian prisons languishing for years for an offense that they told you and you interacted with them that did not commit, we can't just watch and see that happen.
A former governor of Abia State, Theodore Orji, has been arrested by operatives of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. EFCC spokesperson Wilson Uwujaren confirmed the arrest. Orji, who has been on the Commission's watch list, was intercepted at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, on Thursday morning and taken to the headquarters of the EFCC at Jabi, Abuja, for continuation of his interrogation. He is being quizzed alongside his son Chinedu, the current Speaker of the Abia State House of Assembly, who turned himself in after his father's arrest. The ex-governor is alleged to have collected 500 million naira monthly as security vote for 8 years as governor of Abia State between 2007 and 2015. The family of the late human rights lawyer and activist Gani Fawemi has announced the burial arrangements for Mohammed, the eldest son of the legal icon. The late Mohammed died on August 11 at the age of 52. Speaking on behalf of the family, brother of the deceased Sahid Fawemi, while addressing journalists at the family residence in Lagos, also revealed that Mohammed died of COVID-19 complications. Other human rights activists at the event also hailed the disease for his commitment to a better Nigeria.
We urge the federal government of Nigeria to step up its public enlightenment on the deadly character of the disease that many more Nigerians, especially those whose immune systems could easily be compromised because of underlying illness, can take safety measures enumerated above. Additionally, and in line with our late brother's consistent advocacy, we call on the federal and state governments to invest more in healthcare. In particular, we urge the government to do all that is necessary to end the ongoing strike of members of the National Association of Resident Doctors. He was on a wheelchair for 19 years. Being immobile, there are certain underlying illness that could be there, which I'm not a medical person, I can't tell, but obviously blood flow in the system would be limited, and that might cause other things that might not manifest. Yeah, but you know, being on the wheelchair led to weight gain, and with weight gain, you know what that accompanies. You know, so
as you know, human rights activists, we are glad that he stood by the tradition of the family in terms of asking for good governance.
We'll take a break here, but still to come, WHO says no data supports COVID-19 booster shots. Details of that and more after this break. Glad to have you back. Well, here's a quick reminder of some of our top stories tonight. President Muhammadu Buhari says he is determined to bring about a turnaround to the security situation in the country, maintaining that he will not leave Nigeria as a failure. The National Security Advisor Babagana Monguno conveyed the president's message to State House correspondents at the end of a closed-door meeting with service chiefs at the presidential villa on Thursday. Well, we also told you that former governor of Abia State, Theodore Orji, has been arrested by operatives of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. Orji was intercepted at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, on Thursday morning and taken to the headquarters of the EFCC at Jabi, Abuja, for continuation of his interrogation. He is being quizzed alongside his son Chinedu, the current Speaker of the Abia State House of Assembly, who turned himself in after his father's arrest. Well, in case you missed any of our news bulletin or for more updates, do log on to our website on www.tv360nigeria.com. You can also follow us on our social media platforms on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Google Plus at TV360 Nigeria. On Facebook, we're at TV360 Online. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control (NDDC) has recorded 1,149 cases of COVID-19, the highest single-day toll since February 16, when the country recorded 1,572 cases. The latest report on Wednesday showed that the new cases were reported in 15 states and the Federal Capital Territory. Lagos reported 680 cases, followed by Rivers with 157 infections, while Akwa Ibom is third on the chart with 94 cases. However, 279 patients were discharged after successful treatment on Wednesday, while 7 persons succumbed to the virus. The World Health Organization says current data does not indicate that COVID-19 booster shots are needed. The comment comes amid moves by some countries, including the United States, to offer booster shots to people to fight the surge in infections linked to the Delta variant. But WHO chief scientist at a news conference in Geneva said most vulnerable people worldwide should be fully vaccinated before high-income countries deploy a third dose.
We believe clearly that the data today does not indicate that boosters are needed. We need to know which groups, at what period after the vaccination, and which particular vaccines people have received in their primary course. If all high-income countries decide that they would like to give booster doses to their above 50 populations, we're looking at, again, close to 1 billion doses that are going to be needed for those boosters. And many countries are already beginning, even in 2021. And once you begin a program like that, it's very hard to step back. So the right thing to do right now on the science side is to wait for the science to tell us when boosters, which groups of people, and which vaccines need boosters.
We'll take another break and return with business news. Don't go away. Welcome back. I'll now leave you with Folashade Ogurinde for the latest in the world of business. Over to you now, Folashade.
Well, thank you very much, Mary. The Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Timi Silva, says government is doing everything within its power to address the rising cost of liquefied petroleum gas, otherwise known as cooking gas. The minister made this known in Abuja on Monday while briefing journalists on the details of the newly signed Petroleum Industry Act. The assurance comes as the price of cooking gas increased by over 33% from 360 naira per kilogram in July to 480 naira per kilogram in August.
Gas is not a regulated product. But of course, we are also very concerned that prices are rising. And so I'm actually doing something about it. Just in the interest of the ordinary Nigerian, I'm calling some of the suppliers to meet with them to discuss the reason for this hike. But I can tell you that it is not really our role, but just in the interest of the Nigerians, we are trying to see how we can intervene with the suppliers and have discussions that will allow us to see how we can bring down the price of gas to something more affordable.
We'll take a break here and return with a review of the stock market. Please stay with us. Equities performance improved on the fourth day of trading as investors gained over 64 billion naira as all-share index inched higher by 0.32% to close at 39,670 basis points. Meanwhile, market breadth closed positive as Nemeth International Pharmaceuticals PLC and Nigerian Aviation Handling Company PLC led 22 gainers with a combined gain of 44 kobo. Now on the flip side, 13 losers topped by Nigerian Breweries PLC and Consolidated Hallmark Insurance PLC had a combined loss of 5 naira 3 kobo. Now for our market activity, we see that over 201 million volume of shares valued at over 1 billion naira exchange hands in 3,274 deals. Now for our foreign stocks, while the NGX was having a field day, it wasn't the same for the FTSE as the London stocks lost more than 2% today. Analysts say investors are spooked by the rise in COVID-19 infections around the world, as well as news that the Federal Reserve in the US may be on the brink of reducing its economic support for the U.S. economy. Now, similar sentiments were reported on the Dow Jones as the U.S. stocks fell to 34,865 basis points to close in the reds at 0.27%. Asian stocks Nikkei could also not keep its head above waters as it is currently on the negative note at 1.01%. That's all we have on the business segment of News Now. Back to Mary for the rest of the news.
Thank you very much for that update, Folashade. And in international news, at least 2 people were killed and 8 sustained injuries on Thursday in the Afghan city of Abbottabad after Taliban fighters fired on people waving the national flag at an Independence Day rally. The Taliban celebrated Afghanistan's 102nd Independence Day, declaring it had beaten the United States as it commemorates the 1919 treaty which ended British rule in the Central Asian nation. Meanwhile, Afghan President Ashraf Ghani on Wednesday defended his decision to flee Kabul in the face of the Taliban advance, describing it as the only way to prevent bloodshed, and also confirmed he was in the United Arab Emirates. Well, up next is Entertainment Report.
Nigerian comedian Ayo Makun, popularly known as AY, has released some stunning photos to mark his 50th birthday. The comedian took to his Instagram page on Thursday, where he released the really cute photos. AY is a Nigerian actor, comedian, radio and TV presenter, writer, producer and movie director. A happy birthday to AY. Netflix has confirmed the release date for season 2 of Ebony Live Studios' procedural legal drama Castle and Castle. The new season is set to premiere exclusively on Netflix on September 15, 2021. Castle and Castle season 2 will see Richard Mofedamijo, Dakore Akande, Blossom Chukwujeku, Denola Gray, among others, reprise their roles from the first season. New additions will include Bisola Yola, Bimba Ademoye, Kenneth Okoli, and Mimi Chaka. The acclaimed legal drama follows the successful law firm run by married couple Remy and Tega Castle. Their marriage comes under strain where the couple decides to represent different sides of the law. Big Brother Naija lockdown ex-housemate V has been lovingly celebrated by fans and colleagues on the occasion of her 25th birthday. Alova Neo, who was also a contestant last year, took to his Instagram page with a post that got people gushing over them. From housemates in the Big Brother Naija season 5, Neo and V became 2 lovebirds during the show and continued even after the show. And that is all that we have for you on the entertainment segment of News Now.
And in sports, Nigeria forward Isaac Success has agreed to join Serie A club UDINESE this summer. UDINESE and Watford had agreed a deal for the Pacers striker earlier this summer, but Success was not willing to leave the Hornets. The club has, however, made it clear that he is not needed for Watford's Premier League challenge, and the deal is expected to be announced before the window closes in just under 2 weeks' time. Success made only 10 championship appearances for Watford last season, scoring 1 goal as he was out of action for almost a year due to sustained injuries. Well, that's the size of our bulletin at this time. Thank you for watching. I am Mary Kanu. Bye for now.